This is the Analysing Anfield podcast on the Blood Red channel, bringing you the best tactical and statistical analysis of Liverpool FC.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of Analysing Anfield, your tactics and analysis podcast, courtesy of the Blood Red channel. I'm joined again by David Hughes. How you doing, mate?
I'm okay, thanks, Josh.
Getting a bit of height there with the wig.
Yeah, I was just laughing, wasn't I, saying it's very World Cup France '98. But I don't want to keep wearing caps every week, so slick it back and reinvent a new style for myself on the show.
Yeah, I think I'll with an afro or something in a few weeks' time. So apologies if you're watching.
Yeah.
Because we're not the best to look at the minute, but if you're listening in, thank you, because you're sticking with us despite the fact that there's no football. Which last week, must be the die-hard fans who are still here. But we're going down a little bit of a different route this week. We obviously went through the series of Liverpool's alternative 11 and an alternative version of Klopp. This week we needed something a little bit different, so we got recommended this idea by our producer. So if you don't like the show at the end of the show, it's guy.clark@reachplc.com. Any complaints sent his way. So what we're going to do is we're going to look into players that Liverpool have been linked with since Klopp, but for whatever reason we didn't sign. And we'll just look at, how would Liverpool have looked if these players had signed? Would we have been better off? Have they improved since? And how were the alternatives that we came up with at the time? Obviously, Liverpool are in a very healthy state at the minute. That can't be denied. But I think it's a little bit curious to actually look at these players and just think what Liverpool would look like if for example, we'd have signed Nabil Fekir or something like that at the time or whatever. So yeah, we'll get right into it. See how we go. I expect it to be a shorter podcast, but we've said that in the past, and we end up going off on a tangent and getting to the hour mark. So yeah, we'll see how we go. But we'll start off with the first proper link that we had under Klopp, and we actually made a bid. Alex Teixeira, or Teixeira, however you want to say it. Apparently, the club he was playing for at the time, Shakhtar Donetsk, wanted 35 million, and Klopp pulled the plug himself because it was too much. And that was in Klopp's first January, so that would have been about 3 or 4 months after he got the job at Liverpool. So it would have been his first signing, but we ended up opting against him. Any thoughts, David, at all about whether the link was surprising or what you think of the player or whatever?
Well, I mean, the way I've kind of looked at it is, in terms of, certainly from a data point of view, there was around 2,500 minutes in Ukraine, which would have been, before he eventually moved to China in that January window, just to kind of get a feel for the player he was at the time. And look, he was a really good player. I think he'd scored.
Did you have a look at his goals?
Yeah, I did watch his goals.
I mean, I
obviously,
number of goals.
Oh yeah, it was 26 and half a season.
Yeah, madness.
Something like, I think it worked out about 0.93 in terms of goals per 90, which is ludicrous because we should probably point out he wasn't a striker, was he? Well, technically.
No. From what I saw, he plays on the left, and he's one thing I did pick up on that I really liked, and this probably influences why Liverpool were assessed, I suppose, is that he's two-footed. He go with both feet, which and the man we ended up getting instead of him, which we will get to, Sadio Mane, is also, I would say, relatively footed and can play on both sides. So, maybe that came into it. But yeah, in terms of his goals, what I saw in the Ukraine top flight, he scored 22 goals and 3 assists in 50 appearances.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's absolutely mental. There was a few penalties in there, maybe 5 or so, but that was a goal or an assist every 54 minutes. from a total of about 2,000 minutes or something.
And obviously, the caveat is the standard in that division's a lot less than say a league like the Premier League, but that they're still really, really high numbers, enough to spark interest. I did notice he was. I mean, I opened it up to all competitions for Shakhtar that season, so that's why I've got the 26 goals and stuff. But I did notice he was taking nearly 3 shots per 90, which is quite high, really, isn't it, for an attacker midfielder? But he was a really good tech. Go on.
I was going to say, did you look at where exactly he was playing for Shakhtar that season?
Yeah, well, this is what I was just about to say to you then. I could be off here, but I had a look, and I'm pretty sure he seemed to be playing quite often as the number 10 in a 4-2-3-1. Now, admittedly, I didn't go granularly into the season, so I could be a little bit off with that. But from what I've seen, he was playing like that attacking midfield role, and it did have me thinking, maybe if he would have come in, I'm interested for your opinion on this. Could he have maybe been used as the 10, and he might have pushed Coutinho out onto the left? Because who was Liverpool's big left-sided player at the time? Was it like someone like Jordan coming through, or what was it? I can't really remember.
No, it was Coutinho, I think.
So if you were playing a 4-2-3-1, maybe he would come in as the 10, and Coutinho would have obviously been playing out on the left. And there's a lot of goals in that duo alone, really, isn't it? If he would have come, obviously a really good technical player, and I noticed he was really, really fast. I don't know if you had a chance to check, because we didn't have much time, did we? So I don't know if you saw any of the clips. I only looked at a few, but his pace was ridiculous.
I think
in between.
I think for me, I picked up more on his. I think it's acceleration. So his ability to reach his top speed very quickly. That was what I liked about him. I do think he suits the mould and stuff like that, but looking at exactly how he would have impacted Liverpool's tactical makeup, I would have been interested to see exactly what the plan was there in terms of whether Klopp did want to go down the 4-2-3-1 route, or because Coutinho, as I said, was playing on the left, he was showing no signs at that time that Barcelona were going to come for him. He was interested in using Firmino as the team's number 9. So yeah, it just interests me how the tactical makeup will have shifted if we'd have signed him. But I suppose interestingly, we would have had an entire front 3 of Brazilians.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That is interesting. Good players as well. My theory is, and we'll probably kind of evolve to it as we go through the list, is I think 4-2-3-1 was definitely the idea in Klopp's initial stages. I think you start seeing that interest in the 4-3-3 a little bit later on with some of the players he was interested in. But I think certainly at this stage it was a 4-2-3-1 he had in mind, and obviously he did play that in his days, didn't he, at Liverpool, Klopp?
Yeah, he played a few times. Obviously used it at Dortmund, and I have got some thoughts on that I don't really want to get into just yet. I think I want to go down and explore some other players first before I start saying, my definitive takes, if you like. But I think Teixeira was just kind of targeted as an attacker with output, basically an attacker who can actually deliver regardless of where he's playing. And I don't think at that time Klopp had much of a focus on maybe where does he play. I think it was just a case of getting goals in, basically. In the season before, the one that we've just looked at, he scored 17 and 3 assists, and that was in 22 top flight matches in Ukraine. So clearly a goal scorer, by not being a centre forward or a striker or whatever you want to call it.
I was going to say, sorry, just on the games played, how big is the Ukrainian league? Is it? I'm just trying to figure out whether, because it's kind of is that a full campaign, or was he susceptible to injury? Let me have a look now.
Yeah, it's worth checking that. But I don't know. It was looking like he was accumulating around 2,000 minutes, and that's a short season. That if so, I mean, say for example the Scottish League, I think they go 3 rounds, don't they? The Scottish League, they go three rounds, just to get the number of games up, basically. So
16 there is in that division. So
right.
Yeah, it looks to be anyway. I'm looking at the right thing, But yeah, and I'm just wondering if there are any fitness issues. That's all, because obviously that's a kind of interesting thing to keep an eye out for. But going down a bit of a rabbit hole there.
I suppose the only thing with them that suggests to me that we maybe dodged a bit of a bullet is that shortly after he moved to China, and that's for me at least. I understand it, but it's not that good of a sign for me, because it suggests that the player, and I know that we all are to an extent, but it suggests that the player is motivated by money rather than motivated by the prospect of improving himself and reaching his absolute maximum level of output. I think anyone that moves to China is aware that they are not going to improve and they're not going to, reach the top stand, reach their ceiling, but they're going to get paid an awful lot, which, as I said, is fine. But from a competitive perspective, looking at Liverpool, I'm not sure you want that type of character.
Not yet. Totally agree. You kind of prioritizing the money that you earn from the game rather than potentially the success. And there does seem to be a certain mold of player that does that move to China. It's either players who are over the hill, or if it's players in the peak, then it's usually money. I'm thinking of like Hulk, Oscar, who left. Obviously, he was a really good player at Chelsea. Could have played for top European side, he went and followed the money. I think it does kind of reflect on a certain personality trait, shall we say?
Yeah. You just mentioned another 2 Brazilians there, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking as I said it. It is interesting, It's I don't know.
I suppose it's the stylistic makeup of a Brazilian type of player. They're usually quite, quite creative, aren't they? Full of flair and stuff like that.
Yeah, good point to them. So that's kind of going to be quite appealing in terms of getting them into that league, especially when you're trying to grow it and make it more exciting and things. Yeah, but Liverpool's work ethic, I don't think you kind of have a player like that in there.
Yeah. So Klopp said no to a £35 million deal. Correct move, or what do you think?
Yeah. I think a lot really rides on that point that we made just at the end there. I think that's a really prominent thing in this discussion. And yeah, I think Liverpool have gone on to go down a little bit of a different direction, recruit a different kind of player, and it's worked out for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we moved towards the summer. So Klopp's first summer window obviously was going to be a big one. Players that were unsuited to the style of play, but want to get pushed out, basically. Players that are suited to executing his game going to be brought in. One player that was obviously suited to executing his game because he'd already done it was Mario Gotze, or Gotze, or however you want to say that one. He was a big link after we kind of went cold on Teixeira. I think at the time he was at Bayern Munich, but he weren't really getting a look in. The move hadn't transpired how each party had expected. But he kind of he wasn't as attracted to the move as I thought he would be. Considering it's Liverpool, it's Klopp, the manager, who kind of integrated him into men's football, if you like. He seemed weirdly fixated on Champions League football, which we couldn't offer him at the time. But I thought it was quite a simplistic mindset to be, I can't see your club because you haven't got Champions League football, because the idea is we're signing you to achieve that. But we didn't end up signing, and we ended up dedicating what it would have costed to secure Teixeira, about 35 million. We dedicated about that to Sadio Mane, rather than Gotze and rather than Teixeira. But I think it's interesting that with those 2 players, for me, they both push down the 4-2-3-1 route. whereas Mane doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a fantastic player, really talented, versatile. He probably would be again similar to Teixeira that we just talked about there. He'd probably be playing like a number 10 type. Maybe again, Coutinho will be playing out wide, but he is just he was a fantastic talent. And you're right, there was issues at Bayern Munich where he just wasn't playing there. I think at the time, ironically, it was Ancelotti that was in charge. And it just didn't seem like it was going to work. They actually put in who was the Portuguese midfielder that was at Swansea on loan?
Sanchez.
Yeah, it's Renato Sanchez. They brought him in as well. I think the idea at that time as well was maybe he was going to be kind of ahead of him in the pecking order. But yeah, really good player. I agree, and I do think it was strange that there wasn't more appeal on his part to work with Klopp, especially because Klopp really valued him. He would have been arguably the first name on the team sheet, and he played his best football under Klopp. He knows how to. He would have adjusted to his style of game really easily, but you don't know what people are saying in his ear. I don't know much about his agents and things, but if they're saying you've got to be playing Champions League football, you should be playing Champions League football. You've already had one, highly controversial move that hasn't worked out. Are you really going to then uproot and move over to England with so much pressure on you when you can go back to the safety of Dortmund really and kind of re-establish yourself there? And I just think these maybe off the pitch issues maybe stop that move happening. I don't know.
Yeah, one of my last points here on Gotze I'll skip to now because you just mentioned there about off the field stuff. He suffered 18 separate injuries since moving to Borussia Dortmund. He actually ended up going back to in 2016 around 20 million. But 18 separate injuries compared to Mane, who we got instead, who suffered 6. And seems to be fit every single week in the current game at least. So I think that actually comes into it. And if you look at Liverpool's success at the minute, I think it does stem from the fact that all of the top performers, all of the key figures, they never seem to get injured ever. And I'm quite glad we dodged this player, to be honest, because he didn't get anywhere near to the level in his career that I thought he was going to reach. I'm not even sure how old he is now. He might still be in his 20s. I think he is actually about 28 maybe or something like that.
I'm pretty sure he's 27. So yeah, 20. He's basically in his prime years now, but he doesn't really feel like he's ever hit his prime. And if anything, there's an argument to say he's already at the top of the curve and probably he's going to start rapidly
decline.
Regressing really. To the point where he may become a bit of a spare part at Dortmund, even when he is fit. I must say, I actually haven't kept an eye on how much he's been playing this season, and I haven't even looked. I don't know if you watched this, Josh. If anyone's listening as well, it was a good watch. Even though I haven't finished it, I watched the Dortmund documentary on Prime, Amazon Prime. It's in German, but they've got subtitles on there, and it's really good. And I spotted them on there, and I must say, I was like, no, I forgot he even played for these, because you never hear about, do you? You never hear about him, making any great waves.
That's what I was going to say then. When you mentioned there that I haven't really kept track of them. Usually the players that are doing really well, you don't consciously have to keep track of because they're just kind of like forced into your awareness themselves because of how well they're doing. So the fact that he's kind of drifted off the radar and hasn't really came back on it just captures how I don't know how he I suppose there's another player similar to Teixeira who just hasn't got close to his ceiling for me. I thought he was going to go down the route of a bit of a whale beater, to be honest. I remember saying when I didn't have as much football knowledge as I do now, I remember saying that when Guardiola took over there, I had the feeling that Guardiola would go down the route of turning Gotze into his false nine. Yeah. And then he'd do other things and stuff like that. I thought he liked Gotze in the way that he liked Lionel Messi. He seeing such potential in a kid at the club, but it just didn't really work out that way.
Well, funny enough, just as you've been talking, then our producer guys just flagged that he's actually leaving Dortmund on a free transfer this summer, and he's turning 28 this summer. So that says a lot, really. You know that they're if you think about Liverpool's front three, they're kind of in and around that age now, and you know there's calls to be letting them go on a free transfer, is there? I think that kind of tells its own story.
Yeah, well, I think that's why it feels like a bullet dodged, because in the summer you've got Gotze there, you've got Sadio Mane there, and then at the end of Gotze's deal, his club will let him go for free, and Mane has already signed a new deal, and he's like considered amongst the top European forwards, top four forwards in Europe. So it is one of them situations. I don't know if you got this vibe as well, looking through all these players that we're going to get to, but I got quite a vibe of if it's worked out as simple as this, where Liverpool have missed out on players and went down other routes, it almost looks like a weird perfect storm. Whereas Liverpool's, it's almost like you can't write it, because it looks like loads of bullets being dodged, and it's resulted in Liverpool being forced into I'm not sure how you'd put this. You see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, no, I do. The way I kind of looking at this, and then the plays that they did get was, do you remember ages ago we spoke, and it may have been on this show or another show, about, I think it was actually yourself who kind of brought this up, was the value of players who are really hungry and, you know, kind of got a point to prove and want to go that next level and stuff. And it felt like a few of these players, it kind of maybe had early peaks, were destined to big things. You know, it didn't. The moves didn't work out for whatever reason, and then Liverpool have ended up pursuing players who maybe haven't got the same sort of aura about them, but do have the potential to go on to that next level, a little bit more hungry, and obviously they've all come together in this current group and being a really successful side. I don't know if you got the same sort of vibe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always the question mark as to why certain players don't make it at top clubs, and I think there's a bit of a wig usually attached to that. Obviously, Klopp thought that he'd be able to turn him around, but for whatever reason, Gotze didn't want to allow him to do that, and he went back to the club that he was really successful at, which I suppose is a bit understandable, but it hasn't turned out particularly well for him. As I've said already, I'm glad we avoided him. I do think we would have went down the 4-3-1 route with him signed. And just to capture, I suppose, his lacking impact since going there. I think he's had 3 seasons there, 3 or 4, I'm not sure. But he hasn't played over 1,700 minutes in any of those league seasons. That's in the Bundesliga.
That's not.
No, just for perspective, Sadio Mane, for example, this season has already played 2,090, and that's, you know, without the season, with the season being about 75% done. And since Mane came to Liverpool, his least amount of minutes is that currently 2,000, whereas Gotze's most at Dortmund has been 1,700. I think there's a saying that I've seen. Availability is the most underrated ability. I think I'd go along with that. And I think Gotze seems like one of them who can't really establish himself for a consistent run in the side. In his first season, he registered 5 scoring contributions in the Bundesliga. In his second season, he registered 14, and in his third season, which is the current one now, I think, he's currently on 3. So it's not really a move that's worthy.
No, it's a move that potentially it seems like it was a comfortable move that he decided to take, you know, the safe option, but that hasn't worked out either. And it's just going back to what I said earlier, I do agree. I think it's worked out a lot better for Liverpool that one didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know about you. Have you? Just a little side question here. Have you got any preference in terms of wanting managers to work alongside players who they haven't worked with before? Because obviously Gotze would have came in with a relationship already established there, sort of thing, and I suppose that he could be downsides to that, could be positives as well.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it would just depend on the manager and player. Obviously, in that situation, if we use that as an example, would Klopp be more inclined to, if he's really out of form, would he be more inclined to stick with because they have this existing good relationship for longer periods than perhaps he would if it was someone who he didn't have that existing relationship? On that side of things, it's a negative. But then I also think, players do tend to find an extra 10 to 20% in terms of ability when they're playing for the manager they like and they have this relationship with. So I guess there's just pros and cons to it. And I don't suppose I've got a black and white answer for in terms of my preference. I think it just have to depend on the personnel.
Yeah, I mean, say Ancelotti brought in a player from Napoli. I mean, not someone to the standard of Koulibaly, but I don't know, just a midfield from Napoli, something like that. Would you have any kind of concerns about whether this player is maybe less likely to be committed from the off because the manager already knows what about? He'll have no desire to prove himself almost.
I suppose that would be something that crossed your mind. I'd probably be looking for the positive in the sense that I'd be thinking he's, the player's probably going to feel quite, I don't know, happy that he's been brought to the club and want to kind of continue that good relationship. I think a good example of the same was probably, while we're on the subject of Everton, Richarlison, Marco Silva. Obviously, Richarlison played for Silva, had a really good relationship with him at Watford. He wanted to join up with Silva at Everton because I think other clubs would have been in for him, but obviously he's wanted to follow the manager and he kind of hit the ground running at Everton and has really kind of kept up that performance levels now, even though sadly Silva lost his job.
Yeah.
I say sadly. Anyway, I don't want to keep talking about Everton references, but I just think that's probably a relevant example when we're talking about Klopp and Gotze here.
Yeah, I suppose that's a positive story because I don't think Richarlison's had any issues since being to Goodison.
Yeah, why are you in a position where you'd be a little bit concerned? Would you?
No, I don't think with Klopp. Not with Klopp, because I think a lot of this stems back to the judgments of a manager, really, and whether he thinks, how he judges a player, whether he thinks a player is likely to be influenced by the fact that he's already familiar with who's in charge of him and stuff like that. So I think I just think, say for example, in the past when I think Harry Redknapp's known for doing it, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Jermaine Defoe and players like this, and
Cranchar.
I think that David Moyes has got a bit of a tendency to do it as well. I just think sometimes it can be a little bit lazy, and it can be a little bit of a cop out to try and bring a player in who's worked under you, because it's almost like, well, that's one less player I have to train almost, because they already know what I'm about, sort of thing. So I suppose it depends, but with Klopp, I wouldn't be inclined to doubt him, no. Just one last point on Gotze. I think it's, again, tactically a little bit of a strange move for me, considering we already had Firmino and Coutinho, both of whom aren't particularly inclined to run in behind. So you'd have three players in your attack there. Bear in mind, Mane isn't yet at the club. You'd have three players in your attack there who are all a bit more inclined, I'd say, to come towards the ball rather than running away from it. So again, it's a weird one to put together in terms of what the plan was there.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool's attack was like the quickest in Europe, isn't it?
Yeah. Who was kind of leading the line at that point?
I think we had. I'm not exactly sure. I think we had Firmino up front. Sturridge was in and out, suffering from injuries. We had Coutinho, and I think we played like a 4-2-3-1 with the line in there or something like that.
Yeah. So you haven't really got that. That person, as you say, going in behind and kind of willing to get on the end of those threaded balls and things.
Mane was the first player that I recall who was really, a proper fast player. Beyond that, I think our quickest player was like probably Joe Gomez at the time. And we had quick fullbacks every now and then. I think Glenn Johnson was quite quick and stuff like that. But growing up, Liverpool never really had lightning quick players, and I always hated it.
Yeah, because you want pace in the side, don't you? Which obviously they have an abundance of it now, especially when you want to kind of hit sides in transition and stuff. But yeah, I think we can agree that probably was for the best that one didn't work out.
Yeah, so we'll move on anyway to the left back slot. Ben Chilwell, so a player that we decided to poach for Leicester. Way ahead of the curve, really, before he was even promoted to Leicester's first team, before he was playing minutes and before he was a recognised figure. He's now obviously an England international. They rejected what was apparently a £7 million bid, and this was before he'd made a senior appearance, I think, for Leicester. So it was a fairly high bid. And sadly, the player didn't force the move. There was no real, unsettling happening, so we ended up leaving it. I think he ended up signing a new deal, and obviously we ended up going down the route of Andy Robertson. No regrets there. But in terms of Chilwell, as I said, really ahead of the curve, picking up on him as a talent.
Yeah, so that's some good scouting, that, and especially with that player, I don't know how much of it you could brand that a data signing. Well,
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the data at youth level, anything below first team, really, to my understanding, isn't nowhere near as detailed as what you'd expect it to be. Obviously, I'm involved in collecting some of it, and I know it isn't. So that to me sounds like just really, really good scouting. Somebody needs a pat on the back for kind of picking him out. Sorry, I always get distracted. Our producer is always.
I did not know this fact that he's just said.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
When I say piping up, but Chilwell went on loan to Huddersfield under Wagner, who's obviously got a really good relationship with Klopp. Now that actually fills in a void as to how this connection worked, because if he's really impressed at Huddersfield, he's probably said Klopp, this lad's really good. I imagine Klopp values David Wagner's opinion. So that, with I imagine some really good scouting, that's probably how they've identified just how good the other player is going to be. And he is a really good player, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's like that. Klopp's he's inclined to listen to those around him, especially those that he trusts. Yeah. I think his actual first signing at the club, Marko Grujic, I think that was a recommendation of Buvac, who's obviously now left. But it shows that if a player's been identified for less than 10 million, let's say, Grujic was 7 million being offered for Ben Chilwell. Obviously, Klopp trusts those around to take a fairly cheap chance on those players. But I do remember reading at the time when we were bidding for him that he was apparently a bit of a leader, of a character and stuff like that, which I suppose you would get from first-hand knowledge from the likes of David Wagner, who's working with him every day. But for me, yeah. But for me, if you remove Andy Robertson from the picture, I think this would have been a brilliant sign for Liverpool. I think Ben Chilwell would have been great. Homegrown player, English, would have been cheap. Obviously, very, very mobile, got plenty of attacking traits, and good delivery. And he's young as well, so it would have been a brilliant sign for me if we'd have pulled that one off. But obviously, Leicester were a little bit too sharp to let him go.
Yeah, and this is a massive compliment. He reminds me so much of Leighton Baines, like a younger version of Leighton Baines. And for me, I think Baines has been. People talk about Cole, obviously, but for me, Baines has been up there as probably one of the best left backs in the Premier League era. And Chilwell just has so many of the same qualities. He's really athletic.
I was going to say, saying that he uses the ball a lot like him as well, doesn't he? Just his behaviour, his touch, the way he passes, the stance.
That's it. I was just about to say all this, like the way he drills the ball in. You've just said it there, the stance. No, he's even got the same dark hair. He looks like him so much. He plays like him. They're just so similar, and I think he is the kind of reincarnation of what Baines was. And I think he would have been
a bit more mobile.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But that's something that kind of plays into his hands in terms of thinking about his qualities from a Liverpool point of view. You know, he's got tons of pace. He is mobile. It helps him recover. You know, if he's caught high up the pitch and possessions lost in transitions and things, he seems to recover really well, which is something that I always think stands out with him. I just think he would have been, as you said, a really good sign. And I know Robertson's worked out brilliantly, but if we're just focusing on him for the minute, I think he would have suited Liverpool to a T.
Yeah, I think he's probably a bit more mobile, but his delivery is probably a little bit worse than Baines. But other than that, I think, you know, certainly very comparable players. I've never really thought about that one. One thing that does show up in the numbers regarding Chilwell, maybe not back then, because considering he was mainly a youth player at the time, but I know he's really big on what are labelled as progressive carries, progressive runs. He's inclined to, he's quite dynamic on the ball. If the space ahead of me, simply he will just drive into it, really. Carry the ball up the field. So he's kind of good if he's used as a vehicle of getting up the field almost. If you can generate space for him and that sort of thing. So considering how much Liverpool rely on their fullbacks to progress the ball, again, I think he would have been very suited. Maybe less on the passing side as Trent does, but more on the carrying side, which we see every week from Robertson. I think two things Robertson has over Chilwell. I think Robert's a bit more aggressive, bit more spirited and that sort of thing. And Robertson's never injured as well. Never ever injured. And I think Chilwell's had a few knocks this season. Only slight niggles and stuff like that. But I think he's missed a few games. Being rested and things like that. Could be due to his age. I'm not sure how old he is now, 22 maybe or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's turned 23 recently.
Okay.
So niggling injuries do concern me though. You know, like
they concern me as well.
Yeah, if it's a big knock, you know, like something horrific. Obviously, you'd never wish this on anyone. But if it's like a leg break or just a really bad injury, you can kind of accept it. But when it's niggles that are keeping you out, it is alarm bells, isn't it? Because you're a little bit like, how bad are you? How injured are you? Or is this a bit of a psychological thing?
I was just going to say that I think little niggles like that, I think, are more likely to be related to the player's mentality than actually a physical injury that's preventing them from playing.
Like the Daniel Sturridge effect, almost.
Yeah, compared with Suarez, for example. Suarez was the type to get kicked every single week. He never missed a training session. And that's just because he's absolutely driven. And if you look at the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, absolute lunatic in terms of how driven he is. There's no way he's gone this long without suffering injuries. Yeah. There's no way he's just that lucky. It's obviously his mentality has to come into it to a certain degree.
Yeah, his body. There's a good chance probably like Ronaldo, although he really looks after himself, his body's probably in bits, and he's probably playing with injuries every single week. But as you said, just that hunger's there so much to play that it'd have to be something that you physically couldn't run with to keep them out to the side.
I don't really recall Robertson missing out through an injury. I think he missed a game before the Atletico Madrid fixture a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think that was precautionary. I don't think it was. I think if the Atletico Madrid game wasn't scheduled, I think he'd have played because it's not a big deal.
Yeah, well, Liverpool have had the luxury, haven't they, as the season's progressed, have been a little bit more lax in terms of having to play players. If it was last season, for example, he would have played. You go neck and neck with City, but Liverpool have had the kind of top spot tied up now for a long time, and it has meant that he could be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to ask you whether 7 million for Chilwell was a good offer, because I think that would have been an absolute steal.
What would you value him at now? Like if you're the Premier League club of like a top 4 club, not Liverpool as such, because forget any other players can influence decisions. Just what would you say is a fair price to pay for them now, or what you go up to?
I think what a fair price would be for him, I wouldn't go to. I'd say I couldn't really look beyond the 50 million mark, simply because that was what Mendy cost. That was what Kyle Walker cost. It seems to be kind of the going rate now for a top quality fullback, especially considering he's young, English and homegrown as well. But I wouldn't personally pay that much for him. I think he's worth probably about 30.
Yeah.
35 or so.
I could. There's no club who pay it now. Actually, I think the landscape's changed with all the COVID-19 stuff. So we probably will never see this now. But I think if things will just progress as they are, and say one of the big clubs would have made a move for them, I reckon they would have paid up to about 65, 70. You know, just because those signings that you talk about there were obviously a few years ago now, and as you've just hit the nail on the head with the homegrown status, I think that is massive. And that you have an extra 15, 20 mil, I think, sometimes just for that alone.
Yeah. Just an extra little question for you. I'll put you on the spot.
Nightmare.
If we'd have signed Chilwell for 7 million and Robertson 8 million, who's the bigger bargain there?
I don't know. I think
Can't really answer that, can you?
Yeah, it's really tough because I think Robertson seems more established and he has the appeal of playing this Liverpool side. I think so. For me, he just about edges it, but I also really like him. So I think they'd be. Can it be a cop out, Josh, and say equal?
Yeah, I'll answer it for you. I think for me, I'd lean slightly towards Robertson simply because I think if they were both left backs at Liverpool, I think Robertson would be the most established player now, and that's that stems back to the fact that they're always available. So whereas once Robertson's come into this left back slot, Chilwell wouldn't have got a shot because Robertson's never out the side.
Yeah.
But we'll move on anyway to a group of midfielders now. I think we're onto the midfield. So we'll start with Julian Brandt.
By the way, I should address it really. Yeah, if anyone hears a slight bang in the background there, my dog's in for this dog walk, so he's just excited. So yeah, it's the joys of working from home, sadly. So apologies if that did bother anyone.
Yeah, it wasn't me one day making a noise. Anyway, yeah, Julian Brandt is the next player that we're going to move on to. So I believe, I will say as well, at this point now, my timeline in my head's a little bit jumbled. So if some of the players I mentioned now, in terms of the timeline thing, is mixed up, then, don't quote me exactly, because I think we were linked with a fair few players in this period now, but I think Brandt was linked in the lead up to the summer that we actually ended up signing Salah. Pretty sure of that, actually. Julian Brandt was looking to be the next attacker that we were going to add to Firmino, Coutinho and Mahmoud. But we didn't, for whatever reason. It just, when we got to actually, close to the summer, the link just seemed to go cold. I don't think Brandt was keen on moving. I think he actually spoke out to Kicker and said, with the World Cup approaching the following summer, and his age as well, he's still only 23 now, so a couple of years ago he would have been about 21. I just don't think he was ready to move at the time. Liverpool obviously ended up getting, Mohamed Salah, which you cannot complain about. But if Brandt comes in, how do you expect him to influence things?
Yeah, so this is maybe, which I alluded to earlier, this is maybe where I think we were seeing the transition of trying to go to that the 4-3-3 that we now know is quite established. But yeah, he's really versatile, isn't he? He can play on both sides, although I'm pretty sure he tended to favour going on the right. But yeah, an ability to run at defenders. He is two-footed. I had a quick look at the season leading up to that summer that you've just talked about there. He was averaging 7.5 dribbles with a success rate of over 50%, which I think is fairly impressive. The only thing is, I'm a little bit curious as to whether the resulting Salah signing was, as a result of not getting him, or I'm trying to work out how that dynamic played out, because Salah's scoring record at Fiorentina was so much better than his. It was Leverkusen, wasn't it, that he was at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salah was at Roma as well, by the way, after Fiorentina.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, I got mixed up there. But yeah, I checked, and it was something like, I think he scored, if I looked at the right season, about 15 goals that season, Salah, whereas he only scored 3. And there was more. It seemed that he was contributing a little bit more with assists rather than goals, whereas Salah was starting to illustrate that he was quite a goal getter. I'm just curious to see what the dynamic was in the eyes of Klopp there, whether he was going to be planning to use him as we see the front three used now as real goal focused attacking entities, or whether he was going to be trying to still use them as wide creators.
Yeah. No, I'm exactly the same, to be honest. I'll just see how things like that play out. But I have my perspective on it is I think the signature of Salah set in place the 4-3-3 then moving forward. Because I think if you look at Brandt, Gotze, and Teixeira, all 3 of those you could argue are potential number 10s there. Or if not, for me, maybe he becomes the number 10. But if not, again, Coutinho becomes the number 10. So I do think Klopp had this idea in his mind to play a number 10. And I think the eventual signature of Salah, obviously he's playing on the right side, left foot inside, Mane on the other side, and Firmino in the middle, retreating into midfield. I think that finally decided the makeup of what Liverpool were going to be, really. Coutinho was still there at the time, and I think Liverpool's tactical makeup was a little bit up in the air because we couldn't just leave a player as good as Coutinho on the bench. So we still had to keep playing on that. But once Coutinho left, it is virtually 4-3-3 every single week now. And I think stems from Salah's signature over Julian Brandt. So, but interestingly though, I think once Brandt progressed a little bit further with Leverkusen, and eventually now with Dortmund, he moved to Dortmund eventually.
It feels like everybody on this list has played for Dortmund at some point.
Well, it's interesting because there was a period where Liverpool, every single player Liverpool were linked with, Dortmund also seemed to apparently want. Yeah. So, and Klopp's obviously got a history with both clubs. I suppose, I mean, if you're going for the same players as Dortmund, that's probably a good sign because they generally have their heads screwed on. But yeah, that was a weird period. That. What I was saying there. Oh yeah, so Julian Brandt towards the end of his Leverkusen career and at Dortmund now, he ended up becoming a bit more of a number 8, which I think is quite interesting. And I think if you look at Liverpool, before we signed Naby Keita, for example, or before we signed Chamberlain, we maybe did lack that number 8, a bit more of a creative type.
Are you thinking he could have potentially been quite successful, are you, in converting to an 8 at Liverpool?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure if he would have been good enough to start, especially at that age. But I think there's the prospect of us maybe signing him with a view to him just being a really versatile player who can play in attack and midfield.
Yeah, he's probably one player that you could have said still could have been quite a success, I guess, similar to maybe Chilwell. Maybe not to the extent that of the players now, but I just think the kind of makeup of his play in possession, I think he was kind of, even when Liverpool were interested, he was playing under Roger Schmidt?
I think so, yeah, but I think Peter Bowles was the man who wanted to be an 8, I think.
Oh, okay. But I was just going to say, he's had that kind of, pressing, transition type upbringing, or, bedding in kind of over the years. The kind of stuff that you associate with Liverpool. I think he's been drilled on that kind of those aspects of the game, which kind of set you up well. We've talked about, for example, like the Red Bull clubs. Liverpool buying from them is quite good because it's a good kind of nursery for them in terms of, learning how to play. And I think he's probably had a similar, albeit at different places, a similar kind of football upbringing.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, still only 20 years old. He's 6'1" as well. So I don't think he fits the mold of of a player who you consider as a bullet dodged or a flop or anything like that. But I think considering the man that we seem to get instead was Mo Salah, I think you almost have to go down the bullet dodge route. But it's not because of Brandt, it's because of Salah.
Yeah, Alisson being so successful.
Yeah, I mean, I've said in the past that even after we signed Salah, I remember saying on this show last year that Brandt is a player that we could easily sign. Still, I'm not sure so much anymore. But last year I felt like we needed an additional body in between midfield and attack, and I think we've now got Minamino doing a little bit of that. Chamberlain doing a little of that, but yeah, Brandt is still a player that I'm still a little bit of a fan of, and if you look at his creative numbers compared to other midfielders, he usually shows up quite well on like little scatter plots and things like that. For midfielders you create.
How much did he go for last summer?
I think it was a reasonable. Sum. I'm going to check now.
I don't think it was a lot, was it? It wasn't anything eye white material, I guess. I remember being. It makes me wonder if it was potentially a release clause.
Oh, they signed. I don't know if this was a joint deal or not, but sorry, hang on. They signed Julian Brandt and Torgan Hazard from Mönchengladbach for a combined 45 million. So I think Brandt was about 18, 20, which is about yeah, that's a good deal for me, that one. Like, yeah, 22.1 million you were signed for.
Yeah, they've done well there. Saying that, I must admit I haven't, and again, I haven't been keeping a close eye on how he's performed this season. You said he's been doing quite well? Is that right?
He's been doing. Yeah, I mean, just I suppose how you'd expect the first season to got a player like that.
Yeah,
been playing at a variety of different positions. I'm not sure if he's fully established in terms of playing every single week, but by no means a flop.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll move on to the next midfielder that we targeted for a while, called Piotr Zielinski, Polish international playing for Carlo Ancelotti's old team, actually, Napoli.
Yeah.
They snatched them from us, from Empoli, but we were with them at the time. They only signed him for 14 million. But he was a player before we signed Wijnaldum, I think it was. We were linked with him quite a lot. And I didn't know him at the time.
I was just literally about to step in there and say, I'll be honest, I've never really scouted or looked into him. Obviously, I'm aware of him because Napoli have been on the radar for a lot of for a while now. Just basically in Europe every year. Played against Liverpool as well, didn't he? But yeah, I've never looked at him beyond that. He's from what I can gather, or from what I've heard, he seems fairly good on the ball, strong in defensive duels. Comfortable in tight areas and so on. Kind of playing in that that Wijnaldum type role, I guess. But yeah, I didn't even know that he'd been linked with the move to Liverpool whenever it was. I don't remember that at all, I'll be honest.
No, he was definitely linked, for a few months. And he spoke out himself and confirmed that Liverpool were interested in him. I think there was a pictures that surfaced as well on a training ground, and he's holding up a Liverpool kit. I think it was put to him by a fan. I don't think there was anything official about it, but he was definitely linked. But I'm the same as you. I haven't got a great deal to add on him. I think he's a good player. He was being a good player at Liverpool. There's not a great deal wrong with him. But at the same time, if you don't sign him, I don't think you miss an awful lot either.
Yeah, it's not one that's got away, as the saying goes.
No, but at the same time, he's a player who, if he came into Liverpool now, he'd probably do a sound job. He is now a starter for Napoli. He's playing virtually every single week, which he wasn't initially. But yeah, not a great deal to run him, and I think we need to actually get a move on anyway. We've still got 3 players to go. I think we're around the 50-minute mark now.
Yeah, we'll burn through these.
Yeah, well, the next 2, I'm going to talk about as one, because I think Klopp for a while had identified the the need for a number 6 and one that can pass the ball, basically. One that is composed on the ball, doesn't really get phased by once you're pressured. So we were linked with Mahmoud Dahoud and Jorginho in and around the same period. We didn't get Dahoud because the summer we were apparently interested. Mönchengladbach sold Xhaka to Arsenal and they weren't willing to let another midfielder go. And Jorginho obviously ended up moving to Chelsea with Sarri. And Liverpool later eventually ended up signing Fabinho, which again I don't think we can complain about. But it's interesting that we were linked with these two players who I think are vaguely similar on the ball in terms of the spatial awareness, technical, that sort of thing. But they haven't got I don't think either of them have got Fabinho's physicality and his height, especially.
Yeah, it hasn't really worked out for Dahoud, has it? Since his move, I think he only started 3 Bundesliga games this year. But yeah, Georgie is an interesting one for you, Josh. And I think the data deceives us a little bit more there. I was going to say the exact same point as you. We know Jorginho was good on the ball, but for me, he lacks a little bit of defensive robustness. But I noticed he had a better defensive dual success rate than Fabinho this year. And I think that is the data lying to us a little bit. And that isn't me being biased, but just from watching the game, I think Jorginho is a lot more susceptible to being targeted than say Fabinho is. And I wonder if maybe his numbers just aren't as good because he's often defending in like the transition and things, and it's a little bit tougher. But I just wanted to flag that because I thought that was quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, I must agree. I'm sorry, I must say I do like plenty of aspects of Jorginho. I think he's a bit of a leader. I think he's a big talker. He's a little bit like a coach on the pitch at times, the way he's directing people and how intense he can come across and things like that. Knows how to press and all stuff like that. I think he's quite tactical, not really phased and stuff. But I do agree in that he's more likely to be targeted, and I think it's not really his fault, but I think he's inclined to be. He can be bullied, I think, and I don't think you'd be able to do that to Fabinho. He's not quick at all, and he's not tall. So it's literally one of those kind of idealistic. I don't want to be judgmental here, but one of those maybe Spanish players from the past who's just very, very nice, very technical, but doesn't have a great deal else to him, which I think you need in a Klopp team.
I also think that he probably needs a little bit more of a side building around him to get the best out of him. Whereas it feels like Fabinho can kind of just be put into that number 6 role and thrive and do his job, without any kind of adjustment need to be made just to benefit him.
Yeah, I think Fabinho. I'd argue that he's equally as slow almost, but I think he's got physicality about him, which I think is important. But yeah, I think Jorginho definitely ticked the technical box, and he definitely ticked the character box. I think Liverpool would have really liked his personality and stuff like that, but certain other areas he falls short. In terms of Dahoud, a year after Xhaka left, Dahoud was sold again to Dortmund for a fee of 10.8 million. Do you know who Mönchengladbach signed in that same summer to replace him for exactly the same fee, 10.8 million?
Oh, go on, tell me.
Dennis Zakaria.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
So those who listen to this podcast every week will know that I mentioned Zakaria a few weeks ago in reference to A, Liverpool for him in the past, and B, I think he's a very similar Wijnaldum type player if we was to lose Wijnaldum for whatever reason. So it's just interesting when you look back at recruitment how little things like that work.
It's quite good that it was for the same price as well.
Yeah. For the final man that will end on Nabil Fekir. The enigma. I think no one knows still to this day really what happened. People might claim you do, but I doubt that's the case, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he went as far as actually doing an interview with LFC TV, but it just never got released. The plug got pulled very late on. Various theories related to why it didn't happen. Apparently, his brothers and his agents or something were asking for more money. There's the possibility that Alisson became available. We had to dedicate funds to Alisson, so we pulled the Fekir plug. We found out about his knee. Obviously, that was another widely reported thing. Who knows? But at the time, I did think it was a really good move. He was an output player for me. Lots of shots and assists and goals and all that sort of stuff in the Salah mould. And he was a real Liverpool type signing at the time, I thought. But, it fell through for whatever reason.
Yeah, he was a really good player. He impressed for me when I watched Lyon a few times in the Europa League. That season before the move was meant to happen. They were in a group with Everton. So I got to watch him live twice. And we know, that kind of, when you get to the full picture of the field, you get to kind of really understand how good a player is. And he just seemed a level above others. He seems.
He came across as Lyon's talisman for me.
Yeah, he was.
Another team, a smallest team's talisman. What I felt like we were doing.
Yeah, well, that was it. But there was a lot. I mean, he scored a ton of goals, created a ton of goals as well. But there's a lot more there on top of that. I think he's just a good all-round player as well. He looks really composed on the ball. He has an eye for the pass. He executes passes brilliantly. He's just really good with the ball at his feet. Very technical. He was just a really good player. And I remember thinking, this is some sign for Liverpool. This. And at the time, I was thinking, this is kind of going to take Liverpool to the next level. Obviously, we've learned that they went a little bit of a different direction in any event. But
do you think that was another attempt for Klopp to get his 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, that's what
it's weird, when you look at this pattern.
That's what I'm referring to. When they've gone a different direction, not really pursued this type of. I haven't really got a spot for that kind of player. If you wanted to play like a number 10 type, but yeah, it is interesting that they were looking. It did feel like Klopp was looking for that kind of player, but then over the course of the past season and a half or whatever, there's no need to.
Yeah, the last thing I've got written here is, I think I to the sign I've just covered. I have kind of a little bit of a theory that Klopp, it looks as though he's done his best to follow the theme of basically exactly how his Dortmund time went, in terms of 4-2-3-1, at least one very technical passer in midfield, which at Dortmund it was Gundogan, and less emphasis placed on signing defenders, basically. I think obviously Robertson was signed, but that was for 8 million. Gomez was already at the club. Trent came through, and I think obviously Liverpool eventually got to the point where they signed Van Dijk and Alisson. But up until that stage, it did feel like Klopp was really 4-2-3-1 focused, and it'll be interesting to see if we do sign Timo Werner, for example, whether that shift finally happens. And that I assume that would involve Firmino going as the 10 and Werner going as the 9. Or you could do Firmino as the 10, Werner as the left, Mane as the right, and Salah as the 9. You could do all kinds with it, I suppose, but it does feel as though Klopp's had this 4-2-3-1 idea, or at least the option of doing it for a number of years now, and still hasn't really got to that point.
I've been talking up. I think Liverpool are going to adapt the setup soon because they've been kind of doing what they're doing now for a couple of years, and
Doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You only have to look at the history of football to see that whenever the side kind of steps forward and does something that's so successful, eventually teams will find a way to nullify that success. Which is why if you look at someone like Ferguson, he was always reinventing the side, which was so successful for so long. And Klopp will obviously have to do something like that very soon with this Liverpool group.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. So I mean, looking at those players there that was mentioned, if you could take one and give Liverpool him now, who would you give him? Get on the spot, obviously. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I probably would be inclined to go between maybe Julian Brandt or Ben Chilwell. I know, left back, for example, I know Robertson's great there. But how old's Robertson now?
25,
Yeah,
26, something like that.
I mean, he's still got plenty of years at the top, but yeah, I think Chilwell would be a good player to have, certainly in the squad, being homegrown as well. So if you put me on the spot, I'd probably go for them.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'd probably be inclined to agree with you there. Yeah. I think every player's got vague suitabilities to what Liverpool want. But some don't tick all boxes, and I think Liverpool like that to be the case. I think Chilwell ticks virtually all of them, and Brandt ticks the large majority of them as well. So I think I'll go along with that. Yeah.
Nice.
But we'll leave it there, I think, anyway.
That was good, that wasn't it? I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously Liverpool have been linked with a wide variety of players there. Doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And nowadays, it's just, we're going to have a quiet summer. We're going to have a quiet summer. We're going to have a quiet summer. Maybe there's some difference, but considering current climate, I doubt it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully the listeners appreciate that episode. Any ideas for next week, we would appreciate, and we'll take on both. But thanks for Dave.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.